Okay, we're going to go live now to Michael Ford, who's making an announcement. We'll listen in live.
Does for the people of Brampton North,
right.
and really, in my ministry, working alongside me in citizenship and multiculturalism, he's done some great work, not just here in Brampton, but across the province. So thank you. I'm also joined, as earlier introduced, by Graham with Ontario Solicitor General Michael Kersner, as well as some incredible Brampton MPPs, Minister Williams and Minister Sandhu, for this important announcement this morning. But I would also like to thank our friends here at the Masjid Mubarak for graciously hosting us today. This isn't my first time visiting the Masjid, and surely won't be the last. And thank you so much for hosting us here today. Lastly, but very importantly, a special thank you to the Muslim Association of Canada, the National Council of Canadian Muslims, the Centre for Israel and Jewish Affairs for joining us here today, and thank you for your valued partnership in the ongoing fight against hate and all you do to support, empower, and advocate for your communities here in Ontario. Ladies and gentlemen, Ontario's strength is in our diversity. We are stronger every day because of the dedication, resilience, and contributions of Ontarians from all backgrounds, cultures, and faiths. Unfortunately, however, the threat of incidents of hate and intolerance persists, not just here in Ontario, but around the world. It holds our communities and our province back from reaching our full potential. This will never be okay. Islamophobia, anti-Semitism, and all forms of hate have no place in Ontario. No Ontarian should live in fear for their safety because the color of their skin, how they choose to worship, or who they love. Since 2021, our government has invested over $100 million to combat hate and racism in all its forms. And we will continue to take action to build a stronger, safer, and more inclusive Ontario where people from all walks of life can succeed and create a better future for themselves and their families. That is why today we are announcing an additional investment of $25.5 million in the new Anti-Hate and Security Prevention Grant. This grant will help address the rise of hate incidents we have seen and help protect and support Ontario's religious and minority communities. This will help provide religious groups and Indigenous and cultural communities in all corners of our province with up to $10,000 in direct funding. Funding that can be used to enhance and implement security measures to make sure they have a safe and secure facility to practice their faith, showcase their culture, and express their beliefs. It will enable faith-based and cultural organizations to address their needs and direct funds where they believe it will have the greatest impact. Examples could be enhancing locks, installing security cameras, building upgrades, training staff, and hiring of security. The grant has been redesigned to cover the cost of additional prevention and capacity building measures and allows for more organizations to apply. This will help ensure more community spaces are better protected and better equipped to combat and prevent hate-motivated incidents, graffiti, vandalism, and other damages. This grant, along with the Solicitor General and Attorney General's work to keep criminals off our streets, will serve as a strong foundation as we continue to work with our friends at the Muslim Association of Canada, the National Council of Canadian Muslims, the Centre for Israel and Jewish Affairs, and the many other partners across all communities to roll out additional initiatives in the coming weeks, months, and years to fight hate, build a stronger, safer, and more inclusive province for all. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. I would now like to invite my good friend, Ontario Solicitor General, Minister Michael Kersner, to say a few words.
Good morning, bonjour, boker tov, salam alaikum. Minister Ford and Minister Williams and my great colleagues from Brampton, MPP McGregor and Sandhu, and honored guests, I'm really delighted to be alongside my friends from the National Council of Canadian Muslims, the Muslims Association of Canada, and the Centre for Israel and Jewish Affairs, and the Brampton Christian Heritage Group right here at the Masjid Mubarak Mosque. C'est un grand honneur pour moi d'être ici avec vous aujourd'hui. And I've been grateful to join friends at my own local mosque in my riding of York Centre, the Imd Abdul Islamic Centre, as we recently marked Ramadan, concluding with the Eid al-Fitr. And it's an honor for all of us to stand together, to stand against Islamophobia, against anti-Semitism, against anti-Christian hate, and against discrimination of all kind. And for me and Minister Ford and my colleagues, and our Premier, today's announcement is personal. Per moi et per nous tous, c'est annonce et personnel. Our message is clear. We're going to stand up to hate and to stand up to intolerance and to stand up for Ontario. Hate has no home in Ontario. Hate is toxic to our democracy and the fabric of who we are. And today we are taking steps to stamp it out. When we combat hate, we create a safer community. And when we have a safer community, we have absolutely everything. We have a place to work and to raise our family. We have a place to take them to school. We have a place to pray. And we have a place to live our lives. A safe Ontario is a strong Ontario. And as Solicitor General, there is nothing more important to me than the safety of our province. Rien pour moi, en tant que Solliciteur Général, n'est plus important que la sécurité de notre province. And through strong action, we're continuing to make sure Ontario stays a place of hope and not hate. And last October, I was delighted and pleased to join my friend and my colleague, Minister Ford, as we announced an additional $1.5 million investment in 17 community projects through the Safer and Vital Community Grant to combat cybercrime and online hate. Our government funds hate crime extremism investigative teams working across 17 municipal police services and the OPP to focus on hate-motivated crimes. And as everyone knows, we're investing $267 million through the Community Safety and Policing Grant. And part of this funding is specifically used by police services to tackle hate crimes and to promote tolerance. Addressing hate at the earliest stages can make the biggest difference. And today, building on our work that our government has done this far, I'm so proud to stand with Minister Ford and my colleagues as we announce $25 million to address the rise of hate incidents and to keeping Ontario safe. We all have the right to live safely and feel safe in our homes and communities and in our places of worship. And that's why this new $25 million investment will enhance the safety and security of community spaces. It will keep our communities safe. Our government is working for you to keeping our communities safe. We are really blessed to live in a province where we can live together in peace and harmony and safely weave a thread of kindness and tolerance one to another. But for the vast number of people living in Ontario, this is absolutely the case. But for those who wish us harm, I have a message for you. We will call you out. In closing, I want to recall the promise of our great province of Ontario. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter who you love or how you worship or where you came from or how you got here. What matters is that we're here together. Our diversity is our greatest strength. Notre diversité est notre plus grande réussite. We've never had a premier and a government in my generation that's more concerned about our public safety and at the same time the optimism of our province and what lies ahead. So together, we'll continue to do what is hard. We will achieve what is hard, and we will keep Ontario safe. Thank you, Merci beaucoup, toda rabah, and shukran.
Please line up here.
Good morning, Ministers. Prabnoor from Parvasi Media Group. So since we are celebrating Mental Health Awareness Week, mental health is quite a complex issue. However, one of the main reasons people fall into mental health crisis is when they lose hope. What and how has Ontario government contributed towards reinstating that hope in the current socio-economic standing of the province? And Minister, how do you feel multiculturalism can contribute to it?
I think, thank you very much for that great question. And look, I think Minister Kersner said it right, the hope of Ontario. We are one of the most multicultural jurisdictions in the world. We have people from all walks of life, from all corners of society. And that is truly what makes Ontario one of the greatest places in the world. We have an incredibly strong economy, a growing economy, just creating more than 500,000 jobs in the last 4 years alone. And with a growing economy, we need people to fill those jobs. And that's why we are taking an all-of-government approach, not speaking for the Minister of Labour, but he's done incredible work on the skilled trades, on making sure that Ontario is a place for everyone, where people can come to Ontario to find a good paying job. We're getting housing built. That's something the Premier speaks about each and every day. And it's these commitments, among so many, that are going to the full promise of Ontario and to make Ontario one of the greatest places in the world.
Thank you so much.
Good morning, Minister. This is Nitin Chopra from Prime Asia TV. My question is to Honorable Solicitor General. Good morning, Minister. We have seen the public safety and security here in Ontario is a serious concern. When you talk tough, everybody likes that. Everybody wants government should talk tough, and you are doing that. We have seen your posts. So now yesterday in Burlington, 30 cars were targeted in a single night. Government is investing in police forces, bringing more police officers. My question is, when 13 premiers wrote to federal government, when mayors wrote to federal government, when yourself recently talked that it's a federal jurisdiction, they have to act. What is the single reason federal government is not acting? Because 30 cars in a day, 200 cars in one day in whole of the Ontario is too much. Too much is happening here in Ontario, and you are in charge of the government now. Also, do we have here the rope, means the bail compliance units? If federal government is not acting, does Ontario have the rope, the bail, dedicated bail compliance units? If we have, then do we have officers in that? If we don't have officers, then why can't the provincial government can act and make bail compliance strict so that our criminals are behind the bar and not on the streets? Thank you.
Well, I want to thank you for your question, and really it highlights what our government has done recently with 3 major announcements. The first announcement about 10 days ago, where we announced that we wanted to reduce the barriers for people who want a career in public safety. We want to encourage people to go to the Ontario Police College, and that's why we removed the tuition. And that's why we're making it more accessible for everyone. We want to have 2,000 cadets graduate from the Ontario Police College starting next year, and that's up from about 1,400. And the second thing we announced this week, and you touched on it, is the substantial investment that we're making in bail enforcement and prosecutorial capabilities. This is very important. There's been no premier in our history that went to the other premiers and territorial leaders in 24 hours, got them to sign one letter, penning each signature on a letter calling on the federal government to act and enact, meaningful bail reform. I'm going to be meeting Minister Mendicino on Monday, and I can tell you, every time I speak to him, I say the same thing. This is very important to the security of Ontario and to Canada. And I said to him, you've got to do something at the border. We have to stop the illegal guns from coming into our country, and particularly Ontario. So when it comes to a full court press, Premier Ford is leading us forward, and I am 100% behind him, as is our caucus. There is nothing more important than our public safety, and, you know, we will get it done. We will continue to advocate each and every day to Minister Mendicino, to Minister Lametti, and to the federal government. We need bail reform now.
Thank you, Minister. Follow-up is for today's announcement. It's a very welcoming announcement what province is doing, because the hate crime has risen in Canada, even here in Ontario, and we have seen that graffiti attacks were on mosques, were on Hindu temples, and churches were burned also. Yeah. So will this grant, whatever government announced today, which will across all the religious places will be covered into this? Thank you.
Absolutely, yes. I think that's a great question, and it is. Yes, it's a very much all-inclusive grant to help support our religious, Indigenous communities and cultural communities of our province. You know, it wasn't too long ago. For a number of months, I engaged on hundreds of consultations with community leaders. I know many of you here today participated in those consultations. And this is one of the things I heard loud and clear, that this grant, an enhanced grant, would help. But it goes beyond this grant. You know, will this grant fix the issues that we are seeing? No, not fully. But what it does, it moves the needle in the right direction. And that is on top of the over $100 million this government has invested to combat hate and racism in all its forms in just the last 2 years. And I assure you, our government under Premier Ford